Pablo, hey, congratulations on your new film, Robot Dreams.
Thank you. Thank you.
I certainly do love this movie. This movie put a smile on my face from beginning to end. But we have to hear it from you where the original idea came from. This is a very unique film.
Thank you. I like what you said. I like when people come to watch this film, if they have a smile from beginning to end, that's my biggest compliment because that's what I wanted people to achieve. You know, you're asking me how can you tell me again how did I come to this
The
idea?
idea, yeah.
I read the graphic novel of the same title, Robot Dreams, from Sarah Baron, long time ago, and I loved it so much. Not only the drawings, but especially the message of the film, and especially the end. The end moved me very deeply. I thought it was such a wonderful and meaningful ending that at that moment I decided to make an animated film. Funny that I never made one. I have made live action films. Robot Dream is my fourth film, but my first animated film. So it was the story. I fell in love with the story, and I felt if I was so moved with the graphic novel, if I make a film, there's going to be millions of viewers and audience, that spectators that are going to feel the same thing.
So, what kind of st animation style did you want to adopt, or did you want to basically come close to the graphic novel? I mean, because you could have easily done it like a CGI rather than a 2D animation for something like this.
Well, the thing is that I love graphic novels and comics. So I wanted that when people come to watch the film to the cinema, they feel that they're almost reading like a graphic novel. So it had to be old style. It had to be hand drawn. It had to have like solid colors, inking with this human touch of the hand drawn. It had to be like old style, something about it also connected with me as a child. As a child growing up in the 60s and 70s, I love hand drawn animation. So I wanted to have the same spirit. Not so from the beginning, when I contact the artist, Sarah Baron, the author of the graphic novel, we always talk about to do it as a 2D film.
Now, I guess that the challenge for you as a filmmaker, because if you're going to decide to do something 2D, there's not a lot of animation studios that do 2D animation. Tell us the people that you actually found and how you worked with them.
Well, the most difficult thing about making this film was the animation itself, because as you said, there are very few hand-drawn or 2D animation studio. Most of them are CGI or 3D. And when we started the project, initially was going to do it one of the biggest animation 2D studios in the world that is called Cartoon Saloon. It's in Ireland. Most of their films, they've been nominated for the Oscar, from The Book of Kells to Wolf Walkers. But finally, at the end, when the pandemic started, we couldn't work together anymore. So we had to create a studio in Spain. And that was the most difficult. We had to find animators from all over Europe. We had to buy the computers. We had to create a pipeline. So for me, the biggest challenge of making this film was to really to create the studio to make it the film.
So how was that experience for you to go into animation and creating a studio from scratch?
I was very scared, but I like the challenges, and for me it was a challenge. And I thought it was going to be more difficult for me, the transition from live action to animation. And the reality is that I had an animation director inside of me, because I always do storyboards in my live action films. So for me to spend 1 year and a half doing storyboard felt very natural. I'm a very patient director, so I can be many, many years working on the films, that's a quality that animation directors should have. The biggest difference was that instead of working with actors, I had to work with animators. And I wanted to use my experience working with actors and getting good performances on the screen, doing it with animators. So that was the biggest challenge, and for me it was a wonderful experience to make an animated film that probably I'll make more after the experience of Robot Dreams.
Now you mentioned about working with actors. Are we talking about animated actors, or you're talking about physical actors? Because I know the animals are the term is anthropomorphism, where your animals could actually move and act like human beings.
No, when I was talking about actors, is because Robot Dreams is my fourth film, and the first three films that I made, they're not animated. So
Hmm.
I was working with live action actors. So that was my experience. So, but when I work in animation, you work with animators, and the animators create these anthropomorphic characters that had to act as good as my live action actors. So for me, my biggest emphasis, or where I work the hardest, is to get good performances from the animated characters. That was for me the biggest challenge and the most difficult thing of making this film.
Now, you love to storyboard. Does it help a lot that this is based on a graphic novel? Because the graphic novel itself, it's almost like a storyboard, a backbone for the story.
Actually, it could look like it's easier, but the reality is that the movie visually is very different from the graphic novel.
Hmm.
So the characters could be similar, robot and dog. We had to make them makeover to make an animated film. The backgrounds are very different. In the movie, in the film is New York. In the book, it's a city. It's an American city, but it's not clear. But the story is much more elaborate in the film. So the shots, the storyboard had to be done completely from scratch.
Mm.
Like, so for 1 year and a half, I had to work with storyboard artists, the art director, and a big team to create it. So it definitely it helped more in the design of the characters than the actual storyboards.
It almost seems like you're writing your own graphic novel in this case.
In a way, yes. I was lucky that I had complete freedom to make the film. Sarah Baron loved my film work, and she said, I made the animation, I made the graphic novel, now you make the film. But yeah, they're like they have the same themes, they have the same soul, but they're very different, both projects.
How challenging was it to make a film that is dialogueless?
The thing is that that's the thing that appealed to me, and one of the reasons that I wanted to make the film was the dialogue free. I had done it before. I had made 10 years ago a film called Blanca Nieves that it was dialogue free. And luckily for me, it was also very successful. It got a good release in the United States, and Spain selected for the Oscar. It was the Spanish selection for the Oscar. So it was a good experience. So I was looking for another project that was dialogue free. So instead of a challenge, it was more like I wanted to continue exploring the power of pure cinema.
Mm.
For me, cinema, you write with images. And that's what is a unique about cinema, that element of the writing with images.
Well said. Well said. Pablo, let me leave with one last thought because you could easily change the setting into anything. And you said you changed it to New York, but I also want to know is why the 1980s itself.
Well, the thing is that I visited New York many times in the 70s, many times in the 80s, and I lived in New York for 10 years from 1990 to 99. But there's something about the 80s that are so unique and so special, and I decided that the mid 80s was like a perfect time to set up the film. You know, the film takes place in the East Village, a big part, because the dog lives in the East Village, and that's the neighborhood that I used to live. That was the moment where like Latin punk rockers, artists, Ukrainian, it was a very diverse neighborhood. It was an era when New York was the capital of the world. This is before globalization. And I thought it was a very exciting time. So, and visually, something about the 80s is a very attractive period. So I said, like, 80s is like, I want people that come to watch Robot Dreams, they feel they're traveling in time to the 80s New York.
Well said. Well said. Pablo, thank you very much for carrying this conversation with us about Robot Dreams. It is such a wonderful film. I am absolutely going to recommend this to everyone who loves animation. This is terrific. I just love it. I want to watch it again. Thank you very much.
Thank you for spreading the word, Gabe.
Thank you.